Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Bagley, CEO of CI Web Group. I'm very happy to be here with you today. I've got two very special guests, both dear friends of mine and clients and industry disruptors. These guys are doing amazing things. I have Mr. Darren Dixon, co-founder of My Happy Home, also the founder of Fixify, and Matthew Palmieri. Did I say that right?
You did.
Close. Okay.
Well, he really likes you to go Palmieri. That's what he really likes.
All right, co-founder of My Happy Home as well. And these guys are doing some amazing things in the industry, but also changing the way that we think about the home services industry. So sit down, take a breath, eliminate all your distractions, and stay with us for this wonderful hour. We're going to dive in deep. Darren, I'm going to start with you. Just out of the gate, obviously every great amazing idea comes from a major problem. Let's define the problem first. So what was the kind of indicators or things that caused you to even create this new business model, new company, and way of doing business in the trades?
Okay, that's a great question. So I think the answer to that question starts with Fixify, because what we believed we could accomplish with Fixify was create and build a platform that allowed for customers and available contractors of high quality to be connected to each other faster and easier than before. The whole call around game and when can you be here, and then keep calling and playing all that contractor roulette was something that I recognized as a pain point in the industry from the many years that I've served in this industry. But it was really the foundational building of something that we believed much stronger in, a much bigger business model change. But there was no intelligent software to be able to help us do that. So we decided we had to build it ourselves, and that entrepreneurial seizure happened, back in 2018, mm-hmm. And so from 2018 until now, we have built everything that we've built. But the biggest thesis that Matthew and I are here to solve is not necessarily. It's not necessarily everything about what we think isn't completely and totally brand new. It's about rearranging something that's broken. So what I mean by that is, first of all, we believe that consumers do not like the average experience that they have in their homes when some essential piece of that interior ecosystem of HVAC, plumbing, electrical, appliances, sewer, when something like that breaks, that experience is not good. And the industry has really evolved in the way that it teaches contractors to teach their technicians to go in and extract as much revenue as they can out of every single service call that they're on, and that has broken the consumer experience. That's our belief. And
I
that
just went through that for the last 8 days for whatever reason. It got bigger than even what because I had the heat exchanger supposedly cracked that's leaking carbon monoxide from a service call. That was the first one. Then 4 days later, our hot water tank, it was a maintenance call. And then it was, here's a $40,000 bid. Your heat exchanger is cracked, no proof. And then it was, he said, I noticed you have a baby stuff over there. And I was like, that was my grandbaby. And he was like, well, you have higher levels of carbon monoxide that could be hurting your baby. No proof. And then next thing you know, we have this. Now I later had our actual customer come out and look, and he was like, it's fine. I mean, I can tell you how to improve the efficiency, and you could go from a 12-inch round to a 14-inch round and all this other stuff. But the first one was your grandbaby might die, and here's $40,000.
Yeah. And that company, in that company, I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out the companies that do this. I mean, that company just got ultimately bought by.
Because we just bought this house. That was my first mistake, because I was like, well, let me let the maintenance person that the sticker was on there. So I called the sticker. It's a big company in Seattle, Washington. It's the one that has the TV ads. There's 3. It's one of those.
And they were purchased by a company that just got purchased by Blackstone. So it's,
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
so my only point is that there's no consumer centric aspect to this model. And I get a lot of heat from people in the industry, arguing with me. And I've always said, not everybody's this way. It's just the majority. It's just the majority. I mean, when somebody comes in and tells you that you need a $13,000 repair on your furnace, but you could just get a new one for $13,000. So, and by the way, let's put a $20,000 condensing unit outside. And if you don't do this, you're basically poisoning your grandchild. You can't tell me that. I don't care what anybody says. This is the way it is. We've been here for 30 years involved in this industry, watching it happen. And that's our thesis, is that consumers don't want that experience. And then the other piece of it is that, for a long time, people have, contractors specifically, have rejected doing jobs for home warranty companies, unless they're small contractors that live off of that kind of work, and really need that kind of work to be able to keep their businesses going. But what the real issue isn't whether home warranty is good or not. It's not about whether home warranty makes sense or not. The problem is there's been no vertical integration, because the obligor and the service provider and the consumer are not all 3 on the same page. And what really happens is the consumer's expecting the obligor, the home warranty company, to step up and make all these things happen for them, because that's what they were promised. The service provider goes there and is trying to extract as much money out of these calls as they can, and really telling the customer that what they really need is to just buy a new one from them, because they look at the service call coming from the home warranty company as a lead, not as an opportunity to go in and just provide service. But at the same time, the financial model doesn't reward them to do it. So it's like you've got all of this entanglement of people not being on the same page and not having an alignment in what the outcome is. And so Matthew and I believe that we could fix that problem. People buy plans because they make sense, and they cancel them because they get bad service, or they get no service, or they get 2 weeks with cold showers because they won't fix the water heater because they're trying to force them to buy a new one, and they're lying to the home warranty company, and the home warranty company's trying to fight it. And who sits in the middle of all that terrible service is the consumer. But Matthew and I believe that we have fixed that problem, and we have a lot of evidence and data that says so. And so
let's dive into that.
Yeah, but I mean, we figured if we could fix the service part of it, then we've got something. And as you know, we don't come from insurance backgrounds. We come from service backgrounds. So we're home service servants. We have been for most of our adult lives. And so that's the answer.
I should throw out a little call out. I'm going to say All Red Heating and Air Conditioning out of Seattle, Washington, who is our client. They came out and it was quite a different experience, and it felt so. They were here for hours. I am more educated on stuff. I felt like I had Darren Dixon in my living room, which, you were the first person I called when I got the first quote.
Yeah. Matt Allred and Dan Allred, those are good dudes. And
they were.
I know them too. Those are good dudes. So
I love them so much. I legit, it was such a different experience. I'm so thankful for everything. Now we have a plan. We've got options. It was educational. It felt good. You can tell what a huge difference.
Look, when there's a whole sector of an industry that exists on how to teach technicians to manipulate customers to get their money from them, you know that there's a problem.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Well, and consumers have a lot more resources. They're getting a lot smarter. They're diagnosing their own problems. They have access to information, and they're going to call bluff here shortly. So if they're not already. I have, of course, the beautiful Miss Stephanie Allen. Hi.
Hello. So excited for today's conversation.
Darren, from your perspective, how do you see the industry changing? I'll just start with the smallest question.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Who he is,
well, I think that most contractors will already recognize that there's been a pretty serious slowdown this year. Impact is, we hear, different numbers from different places, but the manufacturers are saying, down 30+% this year. And there's, everybody comes up with these reasons why. Why is that? It's uncertainty in the financial markets, blah 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 blah. But I don't believe that that's it at all. I believe that it's much deeper, and it's much more existential, because it's easy to say it's not in my control because it's the market, and it
economy.
doesn't put money, it doesn't put dollars in your bank, but it certainly takes the onus off of you. The biggest change that I see right now in the market is that the level of desperation to get jobs is at an all-time high, and I'll tell you why I say that is, so if you look at the major big box store, do it your big box store, just launched over the last 30 days an $8.88 tune-up program. Okay, and of course I'm talking about Home Depot, right? So if you know the numbers and you think about what that implies, it implies that, and that's the lowest I've ever seen them go. Like I saw $9 tune-ups from them before, right. But $8.88. I mean, look, it costs you $90 at least to put a tech at a front door. Okay, so if you're going to a service call at $8.88, the customer thinks you're coming in there to do this tune-up for them for $8.88, but just the fact that you would lose as much money as you would lose to show up to that $8.88 tune-up implies that there's a second agenda. And I think that consumers are sick of second agendas. I know that as a consumer, I don't like when I feel like a company has a second agenda, because it certainly can't be that we're there to do a tune-up for $8.88. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
They know you're losing money in the gate. Impossible.
So you must
be. That all consumers know or really understand the implications of how expensive it is to run a business.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think that the customer says to themselves, I agree. I don't think
you know how much a tank of gas is.
Yeah.
I just don't think they put it together. Honestly, it's like, what do you mean you can't come out here and do a $25 maintenance? Or an $8.88,
Yeah, I don't think that they necessarily know either, Stephanie, but what I do know is they don't like the way it goes. Okay? They don't like the experience. So I
don't like the way it feels either.
If you look at the way that the industry has continued to evolve, it's working itself into a pinch point that everybody's feeling. Searchlight just came out with the national average to get a job. Okay, so not a lead, not an appointment, but a job.
Yep. And
that job, $895. Okay, $895, and this is data from Google, right? So $895. The thing that I found more interesting than that was that the conversion percentage from an appointment to actually doing a completed job appears to be somewhere around 50%, because the cost to get an appointment is in the 400s. Okay, so that implies,
and the average booking rate is 40%. So it's
right, but that's
less than that from there.
Well, that's the lead to the appointment, right? So the lead to the appointment is the data that you just said supports it, because it's like 152 to get someone to click something, 400 to get them to book an appointment. So there you go. There's your booking percentage issue. And then 894 to get a job. So that implies that something that's happening at that customer's house at a very high rate, they're rejecting and saying, nope, I don't want to do this. Okay. The other thing that you're going to see in 2026 is skyrocketing service prices, because installations aren't going to come back around like they've been in the past. The ground is laying too blanched. I
we
mean,
just got noticed that all of our equipment's going up 7 to 10% also.
well, so
Mhm.
that's right. So that's not going to help. But really, like if you use like a farming example, if you don't take care of the ground, then the ground is blanched and it lays fallow, right? And that's a period that we're in right now. And there's some very smart people in this industry that have been saying that for a while. Is that all we're doing is futuring, and why? Well, I know that some people don't like hearing this, and I don't think private equity is bad. I think private equity has a very specific financial obligation to future. Okay,
Mhm.
you can't buy the future of a company's EBITDA and not expect futuring to come into the now, or else the game doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you're going to see consumer sentiment towards the industry is continuing to decline. You're going to see service rates skyrocket, and it's already starting to happen. And you're going to see consumers not be able to afford high price repairs like they're now starting to get. And you can even see it. Like Service Titan is now really pushing their financing for service in their software, right? So now it's like, hey, get your customer to finance the repair. And why? Because it's going like this, and so
I think we're going to see some more things too. I think
Well-
we're going to see an influx of people wanting to work in our trades that are unskilled. And I don't know that we have the ability to train them, but AI is taking so many entry-level jobs that people aren't going to know what to do. And
Well,
they're
and
going
it's
to come
senior jobs.
to work with their hands.
Yeah, and it's taking senior jobs. It's not just entry level. It's taking programmers. Jobs. So, well, let me add in, Darren, to specifically to your piece about what's happening in the home and why these deals aren't closing. I'll give everybody something they can just an immediate win. When you drop off a $37,000 quote to replace your heating and air conditioning system, and you leave that email or PDF or packet or whatever you do with the customer, you better bet that they are taking that quote, they're loading it directly into ChatGPT and asking uneducated questions. And you have a new objection handler that doesn't know how to prompt, doesn't know how to provide all the engineering data, i.e., large 4,000 square foot house, big entryway. They got 3 dogs running around inside of there, ductwork, rust, whatever, all the stuff you guys are expert at. I'm not an expert. I'm an average user, right? What they're going to do is say, is this a good quote? And the comparison data is going to go out to the internet, and it's going to get all the internet pricing for the product and come back and say it's too much because they're not good prompters. So a lot of this is I think the contracting industry is getting used to saying, okay, I need to get in front of consumers to get the lead on an AI search engine, which is a very different process than traditional search. But secondly, it has to continue to, when you drop off that quote, you better prep your salespeople, comfort advisors, whatever, to don't leave that house without loading that quote into ChatGPT, providing the right context prompt, and then sharing that as a part of your sales process. I've now got contractors that are taking their entire GPT, sharing it, and then providing that as a part of their proposal process. Because AI is closing the deal over and over again and saying, nope, too much, because the only thing it's going to compare against is pricing that's available only on the manufacturer sites, because the contractors don't provide pricing on their sites.
Well, what's really interesting there too is we have an opportunity to add in all of that detail into our quote. And we have to at this point because we're talking to the agents, right? We're talking to ChatGPT. So we should say that we're taking into account the 3 dogs. We're taking account into these things. We're taking account into all of this. So it doesn't look like an average quote.
Right. The level of detail
Well,
you include. But it's part of it.
So
Darren.
let me tell you let me tell you something that I think fits perfectly into this part of the conversation. So I know a lot of companies like you do, and I have some friends in the business, and I was talking with them recently, and they were explaining to me that they're having to keep installers on standby and paying them standby money, because when they sell a system, if they don't get it put in the same day, their cancellation rate is so high
Mhm.
that they're paying lots of money. Okay. And that money is going into the cost again of the job. So the job is, let's say that their price is somewhere around 50% to 100% higher than between 50 and 100% higher than their competitor is. Okay. And you're talking about major competitors, not small competitors. You're talking about major competitors in their market. And they're having to do that because everything that we're talking about is leading to what is ultimately going to be the commoditization of the industry. I mean, it's more and more contractors are feeling the pinch to offer their products online, which means that as more and more consumers have pricing available to them, the companies that are out there still trying to use the business model that was 30 years old, 25 to 30 years old, isn't cutting it anymore. And so, we've talked about this before. The person who says yes is subsidized, or the person that says yes is subsidizing all the people that said no. And the percentage of conversions getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the price getting higher and higher and higher. And consumers don't want that, so much so that they're finding any information, and maybe it's because they put it in ChatGPT or whatever they did, and they're going, wait a minute, you're trying to charge me over $20,000 for something that a very reputable company will do for me for 12. Okay. And so that's not going to stop.
We don't charge 20, we're drowning.
So
and that's what's happening to the middle contractors out here, right? We're doing whatever we can to stay alive, and it means we have to charge more to keep a positive P&L than we should. And
right. So there's so many interconnected pieces. This is why this is such a challenge, because if we look at anything in what do you call the thing, kaleidoscope, where you can only see right within the wall, anything in a kaleidoscope, all the silos are murdering this whole process. So all these things are connected, right? If you only rely on paid ads, then you're at the top of that funnel as far as your lead costs.
You can't
You're at that 800.
You
can't afford. If that's your main driver, you're already at a disadvantage. That's number one. If you are only focused on Google search and not AI search, we have another slice of the pie where you're losing. If you're not focused on bringing in a higher volume of customers, right? Your lead volume is too small. Now your costs are way up because you had a higher volume of lead a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, when the market was different, consumer search was different, and so forth. Then you take all the operational inefficiencies within the business. Your payroll is too high. You have too many manual process, too many redundancies, too many everything, which is causing the pricing to have to go up, which is causing us to have.
It's called conundrum.
But I don't have the energy
It's all connected.
I don't have the energy to fix those things because I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Right. And we love our people, so we're trying to retrain all of our team, even if we don't have work for them.
I wish there was a short-term answer for everything you're talking about, but there isn't. Okay. And this is why
well,
it depends on who you listen to. Like,
can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results.
No, this is going to require a sequence of quickly executed major modifications that you're not learning at any event that you're attending.
And that's the major modification.
You got to be real careful who you pay to give you your information.
Advice.
Solution. So the solution, what is the solution? Matthew, you wanna kick off?
Yeah, and just listening to what's been said so far and your recent, as of this week, experience. I mean, I get reached out to, very often now that people know that this is my purview. But just having exposure and understanding that, you're adjacent, if not deeply entwined, Jennifer, in the industry, and even you feel uncomfortable having somebody in your home. So how we've fixed it is pretty simple. We are, for all intents and purposes, your home service concierge. So we've fought, through the minutia that's been clouding the industry in order to put something together that when you have a problem, there's no, how do I find help anymore, right? It is, I'm involved with this program through My Happy Home. All I have to do is submit a claim. Anything inside my house, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, appliances is covered. The coverages are robust and thorough. And we know based on, decades of experiences and the coverage amounts that we put out for the homeowners that they're going to be covered. And there's a peace of mind from knowing that the person that shows up isn't incentivized against me. They're incentivized to do the best they can to make sure that the faucet stops dripping, or the toilet flushes properly, or the hot air comes out of those vents. And that's, what anyone would expect until you've had the experience that so many people have had, which is the guy or gal that came over to fix my this, so, gave me a proposal for something else. And that's, how many times have you been asked, will both decision makers be present when, when we come over? And I'm like, I just scheduled a maintenance, what does that have to do with it? I don't, and that's part of the talk track that's been trained. And, just a little bit more on, my background prior to this was working with the Google Nest team to bring a smart thermostat out to, the hundreds of, anyone that would turn a wrench was my responsibility in North America. And our team did a really great job, but for the most part, it was, well, how do we get Nest to sell us more furnaces? Right. Mm-hmm. And then I met a company up in Canada that was, their whole go-to-market strategy was, flipped upside down of, well, how do we get these customers to trust and put their confidence in us for a long, long time, right? And put a low monthly payment plan in front of them so they know everything was covered. So, there's this, like Darren said, we're not solving a new problem, but the way this is all stacked up on top of each other is completely unique. Having a purview of decades of experiences, we last year over 8,000 claims. We know what we're doing and how to provide it to the world. And frankly, our NPS scores, our net promoter scores, which is the most important thing to track for any consumer-friendly business, is off the charts. It's Apple level. And if you're listening to this as a homeowner or a business owner, and you're thinking, well, I wonder what my NPS is, or what would be good. It's like home insurance in general is in like the 10s. We're in the 50s. So it's apples and hand grenades, right? So I've been lucky enough to partner with Darren on this and bring his experience in, and what we did up in Canada and what we're doing down here in the States now. And it's been really, really fun to put this thing together.
I love that. So let's get into some brass tacks so everybody can catch up as to what this is. So first, I'm a consumer, and as a consumer, I have the ability to sign up for a plan, a My Happy Home plan. And that My Happy Home plan cost me X. You guys cover all my gaps. Okay. So that My Happy Home plan, this house, and I have a house in Texas. So I sign up for 2 different plans. I have one in each market, right? And that plan covers my heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, what else?
Appliances.
So for me,
and then you can add on, but then you can add on too, Jen. So that's the roof. So you can't, we don't cover roofs today. But like, let's say that you have, you want to add your pool or your spa, or you want to add your garage door, or you have, multiple wine cooler.
Garage door clicker buttons. Just tell you the nth degree of my problems.
So yeah, we can't help you keep track of your clicker, but we can, cover the repair of your garage door opener when it fails. So, it's, look, I think, yes, and that's $99 a month. Okay.
$99 a month as a consumer for each of my households. So I'm out $200 a month, and I know that I got safety, peace of mind, that
Right.
for all of those major things that absolutely for me, it makes me crazy to have anything fail or not work. It hurts my soul. I can barely use a restroom during the day, let alone deal with the fact that I've got 5 podcasts and no hot water this morning. That's actually rough.
Well, so we think that you're, common, not rare, and in this regard. And the fact is that I want to address something real quick because, as we, are trying to start to educate people about this, the most intelligent people that we meet in the industry know that something has to give. They know that there's got to be something that has got to give because it's just gotten so volatile. But they can't imagine how to get from where they are to where they want to be. They don't even know they don't even know what the solution is. They just look, if we didn't know what we knew, and we're facing 2026, we'd be like, man, this is going to be a really tough year because 2026 is predicted to ship 1 million boxes less than 2025, and 2025 was 30% less than 2024, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not that contractors don't know there's a problem. It's how to solve it. And listen, you can etherize yourself as much as you want. It doesn't change reality. Like I get a lot of contractors who are trying to defend their position on why they run their businesses the way that they do. And I always say, not all contractors are this way, right? But the fact is that if you let a customer sit, here's how you can take a self-test, okay? Number one, would you be completely comfortable for every one of your customers, both present and future, to be able to witness the way that you train your technicians to extract more dollars from their house when they get there? That's self-test question number one. And I've only met a few companies that say yes. But there are companies who say, yeah, I'd be totally comfortable with that. And we're not talking about those people. Okay. And then the next question is, would you let a customer sit with their equipment or system down while you get a technician there that's more likely to sell them something expensive than the guy that's closer that could go right now, but he's probably just going to repair it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
If you would let a customer sit with their system down, whichever system we're talking about, because you've got a guy that is a higher closer to sell more stuff to that customer, instead of send somebody available right now who's just probably going to go over there and fix it for the customer, well, then you should be listening to what we're saying, because it doesn't matter what you tell yourself. It doesn't matter how well you explain to yourself or try to, explain that every customer needs to know their options. And we don't disagree that people need to know what their options are. But just like you experienced in your own home, the tactics that are used by most contractors, by many, many contractors, to separate people from their money is not appropriate. And we that's what we believe. And it doesn't really matter if you agree or disagree. I mean, there's going to be room for both kinds of companies. We just believe that the slice of the pie for the companies that want to continue to do business the old way is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
So let's brass tacks this again. So first off, let the consumer choose. Never make the decision for the consumer. Don't think it's your way or the highway, because once the consumer has options, they will decide, period. And if you choose not to allow them to choose, that's on you. You're just shrinking your pie. I'll put that out there. So what this is, My Happy Home, as a consumer, I have the ability to sign up for these plans. For example, Allred could have technically came out and said that, Jen, you've had like 3 system issues, problem to problem to problem. You should probably, I would recommend the first thing you should do is you should get on this plan. It's going to cost you $99 a month. And it's going to make sure that if 3 more things break while you guys are gone for the next 4 months, those are covered. And if anything happens, Miss Bagley, you can go on to My Happy Home or to their website, which has My Happy Home button, and you can click a button and you can submit a claim, and we'll just come out and take care of it. And if it's not a service, so if Allred is, for example, if that company is the one that sold me that plan, and let's say that that company only provides heating and air conditioning services and they don't have anybody to deal with my tankless water heater, you have contractors in the group that would be able to come out and they would service my water heater. And there is financial benefit, I would assume, some way, shape, or form to the original contractor that sold the plan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so-
that
Yeah, you're getting deep. No, you're right. You're getting deep though. But yes. So yes.
understand what the heck this is. I think
you're
that
right. You're right, Jen. So
and already has monthly recurring revenue for me. They locked me in, right? I'm never going to go back to Google for any of those services, right?
nor
Because
Gemini, nor ChatGPT, nor any. This is the AI killer as far as we're concerned. This is AI search killer because you don't even need to do any of that if you have this plan.
here's what this is to me. When I need service on any of my vehicles, I go here and I click a button and the freaking little Tesla person comes out and they go come and fix my stuff. And this to me is more valuable than anything else because I have to have this in my life. I need that concierge service. Matthew, you mentioned that. It's click the freaking button and whatever is going on with the vehicle, they come out and they take care of it. And rarely do I even have to bring it into a shop. So Tesla took me off the market. I'm never going to go to Google. I'm never going to search for anything, right? A car repair company.
No need
That's
to.
over.
No,
Okay.
it's handled.
So for the consumer, it's convenience. That's my Uber. That's my Tesla. That's my Tesla app that gives me ability to fix anything. For the contractor, they have now put a ring on this household, and somebody in Texas put a ring on that household and took me completely off the market. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Well,
and on top,
but you said something really good that I want to just expand on here. Okay. Is that, so we're talking about Allred as our example company, right? And
Mhm.
if Allred offered this plan and Allred says, yeah, but we don't want to repair appliances. Allred doesn't need to repair appliances. We manage that as part of the service network. Yes. So that's,
and I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to,
you do
I just,
nothing.
and I don't have to worry about ever hunting for.
No, we handle all that. And we vet out everybody. We have over 1,000 contractors that are in our network. Okay. Not technicians, contractors. We have over 1,000 contractors that did at least one job for us last year. Now we vet them out. Okay. And so if I'm Allred or I'm Darren's Air Conditioning or whatever it is, and I want to sell this plan because I want to transition my company over into a different type of a business model, like I can't turn the lights off one day and turn them back on a different way the next day and be a different company. But if I want to transition my business over into being a business that is valued off of recurring revenue, okay, if you had two pieces of your company and one of them was recurring revenue, and that recurring revenue starts to become $1 million or more a year, that piece of your business is more valuable than the EBITDA is because it's valued differently.
Because I sell websites, those are one-stop shops. Those are air conditioners. If I had a business, all I did was sell websites.
That's not the value of your company. The value of your company is the recurring revenue.
Right.
So if I'm Darren's Air Conditioning and I want to be able to segue my business over, but I don't want to have to deal with electrical or plumbing or appliances, we handle that piece for you. And your customer is encapsulated because nobody can ever service that customer in the trade you want to service them in, but you, because our software locks it down that way. That's impossible for anybody else to submit a claim for that customer in that category, but you, and the categories that you say you want. So just follow this out. So we send a appliance company to go take care of that job. Well, that appliance company pays a job acceptance fee to us. And that job acceptance fee then is divvied up between us and the Allred in this example. So Allred, so that whoever's selling the plan is actually earning revenue in the other trades without having to be in the other trades. No headache on trying to chase plumbers around, no headache on trying to chase appliance parts down. Like you can literally just start to extract value back to your company, which has absolutely zero cost to it. So every time you hit a job acceptance fee, it falls directly to the bottom line. Not
Okay.
only that, okay, stop there.
Yeah, real quick. So from a consumer standpoint, I'll just tell you how I would want to be sold that. I would have wanted them to come in and I would have wanted them to say, you got a lot of stuff going on, girl. Listen, I'm going to make sure, like, how many people did you have come out and how long did it take you to book this call? I had called so many, it was ridiculous. Didn't get callbacks, had weird phone call answers. One lady told me that she's not going to deal with me because she thought I was a bot. I was like, what? I'm real. I was literally arguing with her. Long story short, just finding the contractor was a problem. So they would say, you never have to worry about finding a contractor again for anything that you need that's going on with our house. We're going to make sure that's taken care of through our claims process. We vet every contractor, we find them, we make sure they're good. If anyone has an issue, they're out. We're going to make sure you never have to worry about that again. So from now on, all you're going to do, your house and all of the things within it that fall within this are protected. Just click the freaking button and we're going to send out a trusted person and they're going to make sure that this, whatever it is, gets fixed. Are you comfortable with that? Yes.
Yeah. I mean, sign me up. Like I have a protection plan and I'm in the industry, right? So Matthew has a protection plan and we're in the industry and I will tell you that using the protection plan, which is kind of silly because we're from the industry, but like when I had a problem with my septic tank, I knew I was covered. And when the company came out and took care of it for me, I was like, yeah, great, thanks, appreciate it. And that was that.
How valuable is that? Because I'm only going to remember who sold me that. The only name I need to remember is that. If it's all red, whatever. The only name I need to remember is the company who sold me that. I need to remember one contact. That's the only thing I have in my phone, and I never have to go again. That's very valuable.
All you really need to do is bookmark, right? Because all of our claims technology can live right on anybody's website. So let's say, Jen's Air Conditioning sells My Happy Home plan. We're a product, okay? Like we're a product company. So we are providing a product to a very select group of contractors. Like not just anybody can qualify to be this, okay?
Oh, sorry, I just had a huge idea. So sorry, I just went web. So if the contractor so I need to make sure that when we're building the website, for example, for Homepattable, who sells protection plans, I need to take the entire Homepattable website and I need to turn your website into a web app. If the claims button is on there, I would want it to live as an icon on the phone, right?
Right. So yes.
That just changed a whole bunch of things. I got you.
So the thing is that, so for our own companies, right, our own companies use our operating software. So when we built Fixify through a model lens that was about a simplified business model, not build. Look, if you want something that's so wide, broad, vast, can do anything, and sometimes feels like do nothing at all, then you need a big software like something like ServiceTitan, right? ServiceTitan software had to be so broad and general in what it could do because all of the different ways that people want to run their businesses, like being able to go, well, we need to do this, or we want to be able to do this, or this, or this, or this, because there's just
give a contractor a reason why a consumer would want to save their website as an app on their phone.
Exactly, because
that's enormous. Prevents that household from ever going to Google for anything. They just click on your
button. It's called push button service for a reason. We call it push button service. All you have to do is push the button.
No consumer has a reason to save a HVAC company's website right now.
No.
There's no reason. There's no reason at all. I'm sorry. I'm just totally went down a whole different rabbit hole, but that single button turns a service company into an app with the ability to click the freaking button to get service. And side note, Hydra was built with the ability to convert it into a web app, but I couldn't figure out why we would use it. I was
Well,
like,
there
why
you
would anybody ever want to save a garage door or whatever company as an app on their phone when the functionality is just contact us forms and whatnot? That's
So
very
literally,
Have you ever stayed in one of the hotels where they send you a link before you get there and they give you access to?
yeah, all of them.
So imagine that, type of experience, right? So hotels have the concierge, right? But the concierge doesn't say, hey, you don't say, I'm looking for a steakhouse. And they're like, okay, call Manny's, Morton's, and Gibson's, right? They say, we'll book you
I'll,
at Gibson's, and it's
I'll book
really,
it.
really good. And life is, and you let it, you trust the concierge to take care of you. I think that's been the best analogy of people when they ask me kind of how this happens is when I press that button, you're now doing all the back end. You've already searched, gathered, sourced, vetted, negotiated with, like all that stuff that gives homeowners, myself included, the heebie-jeebies is done, right? So that person's going to show up, fix it, high five me, and then any communication that goes back to, goes back into that trusted ecosystem, and that we've found is what people are bragging to their neighbors about, talking to their friends about, because we hypothesize that at some point you'll be at a dinner party and someone will be like, oh, I had this horrible experience, my water heater went out last week and we had guests coming and I couldn't find it, and they'll be like, you didn't have the My Happy Home button? Like, oh, well, let me show you how easy that would have, like that to us is what happens when people have these experiences.
I feel it 1,000%. You are my Tesla app as from a consumer standpoint, and knowing that all of the luxuries that I have to have in my life, having that as one of those luxuries would have been wildly helpful this last couple of weeks.
well, we believe that in the past, people have wanted three things. And the industry's only ever said that you can't have all three. We don't believe in that. So we believe that people want easy, they want fast. And when I say easy, I mean good, right? They want fast, excellent, affordable experience. And the industry has always just said, well, you can only have two of those. You can't have three. And we are proving that that's not true. You can have all three. You can have excellent service that is fast, and it is the most affordable way to do it. And everything that you were just describing about
convenient.
Well, to me, that's good. I put convenience in good, fast, efficient. Like there's a bunch of yeah, but I mean, it's like literally like if you got to decide, it was going to be, look, it was so easy. It was so my life was out of whack for a short period of time. They came over there, boom, it was done. They were high-fived me on the way out the door. There was, our technicians are we call it the 3 C's. They're courteous, they're courteous, they're competent, and they're clean. And that is what consumers want. This idea that we convince ourselves in the industry, and believe me, I've taught many classes to help try to convince people of this, is that what they really want is they want a relationship with you, and they want to sit down with them, and they want you to tell them all this stuff. Baloney. That's not what they want. What they want is they just want their shit to work. That's it. Just fix it and go. I don't need, this is not to be rude, but I don't want you to sit on my couch and have a conversation with me about my kids. Like, I don't need that. Like, I want the role that you fulfill in my life is to put that thing that I bought that's broken, that I own that's broken. I just need it to work. I just need it to work.
We're too busy for that.
I need it to work. But there's going to be some people that go, oh, but no, because what about efficiency and about this and about this and about this? Well,
at some point, it's going to come up.
Don't think that we're not very focused on all that. But that buying experience, we've turned that buying experience into a e-commerce process. Right. So I don't want a technician coming into my house trying to earn a commission to convince me that I need to get a new water heater, a new air conditioner, a new pool pump, whatever it is. Okay. is that the findings themselves tell a story, and how we're starting to use AI is to be able to take that information and to let AI make recommendations based on journeys and patterns. Okay. And that we can communicate with a customer through the technology that we've built. We can communicate with a customer and let them browse that information at their convenience. Right. Because look, and that whole thing that Matthew was saying about, are you both going to be there? Well, it's because they know that if they don't get both of you there, then there's a high probability that they're not going to be able to sell you that $40,000 thing. Well, our system doesn't work that way. As you know, we built an e-commerce platform, years ago that is used every single day. It's every single day it's used. And we have the ability to let a consumer look at what the value of upgrading hardware, or perhaps adding on features. What?
Total cost of ownership.
Yes.
They have the ability to evaluate it themselves.
So because of the fact that we have that information, we're going to share it with them. It's just the way that we're going to share it with them, and the way that we do share it with them is different than the way that the industry does today, because the industry does two things that I think are wrong. Number one is it makes the person who says no, it makes the person who says yes subsidized all the people who said no. So as that sales process gets more and more strenuous on the homeowner, fewer and fewer people say yes. And because of that, that's where $40,000 air conditioning systems come from. So what we have is a very sophisticated but simple business plan that allows us to
very advanced technology.
And
very advanced technology, quite frankly, which has provided the ability for a less advanced technician to be able to outsell a more experienced technician. I'm just saying.
The average transactional value is higher, and when net, that's what it comes down to. The average transactional value is higher. And
I gotta be a translator. All these smart dudes. I gotta make sure everyone can understand you.
Well, look, it's like if 1 in 20 people say yes, and you divide the 20 people by the revenue generated, that's your average transactional value, right? So to us, we know that we have raised the average transactional value by treating everybody better. Instead of trying to get 1 out of 20 to say yes, we treat everybody better, and thus our average transactional value is higher.
So let me try and help with this. Okay. So the business model that Matthew and Darren have currently operating in multiple locations through their own owned heating and air conditioning companies, right? Fair to say?
Yep.
Okay. The business model that they have is, number one, they have a concierge-based service where they are currently taking consumers off the market by putting an app on their phone that has the ability for them to submit a claim if anything goes wrong with most major appliances in the house for a small monthly payment of $99 a month. That effectively removes those consumers, those households, off of the internet and plants them in their backyard. That's in their pocket. Part of that is you also have a business model in heating and air conditioning that has a monthly recurring revenue model, which has substantial value from a lifetime standpoint. Move that to the side. It doesn't mean that they are not getting replacement opportunities. When a replacement opportunity is necessary, not when it's not necessary, they have the ability to utilize the Perfect Match technology, which is proprietary software that has AI capabilities that allows an average good salesperson that doesn't know everything about heating and air conditioning to go through a process to be able to evaluate the technology and whether or not it's up to par with manufacturer specifications, and for the technology to actually present the opportunity for the consumer to choose the best solution based on the total cost of ownership of that equipment, which tends to lead towards you should probably have a higher efficiency system, which is raising your revenue over. So on one hand, we're building a larger library of customers that are tied to us. We become the source of anything they need in the home. We're the main point of contact, whether we sell the service or not. So there's also ancillary revenue that comes in from those insurance plans in the house, from those protection plans that are established in the house, from those contracts, or if you want to call it a wedding ring, right? So we have 3 different major components, and no one had to get screwed during the process.
It's the ability to get win-win-win.
Is that
Yeah.
good, Matt? Am I hired?
Yeah, it's
But
like
I-
it's
Great.
from the beautiful mind. Look, we talk about building a perpetual motion machine. Like the industry can become a perpetual motion machine. Well, it moving the right way, but it's also doing it moving the wrong way too. So the more, it's like the faster you the more you recognize the problem, the faster it declines. Does this make sense? I mean,
Yes. So I put out a video this morning because of a call I had with a client yesterday. Client called, said basically, you guys are idiots. I keep getting called for this service I don't provide because there's blog articles that are related to it. And I'm like, awesome. Well, how'd you handle it? And he was like, well, I told him my marketing company's an idiot. I told him why they don't need that. And if they had a regular maintenance plan, then they wouldn't need that. And I was like, awesome. Did you book the appointment? And he was like, well, yeah. But you need to take that off my website. I was like, so you don't want those calls? And he was like, well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we don't provide that service. I'm like, but you took the call because, right? You took the call. So what if you owned the relationship with the house through a monthly recurring subscription, and whether you provided that service or someone else did, you had regular monthly recurring income. And if they needed a service that was outside of something you provided, you also got paid on that service. That's
so
what's available.
that's what's available. So
That's what's available. That's what we're rolling out.
that's what's available. So the solution that will be the product solution that will be provided to the people listening and your clients and anybody else who wants to start fixing the problem quickly. And it will be what I believe is the most impactful product that that the industry will have seen. I want to give kudos back to the mentors that I've had throughout this industry who knew this 23 years ago. 23, and they probably knew it earlier than that, but 23 years ago they knew how this was going to go, but the technology wasn't there to get it done. And that's the thing about certain types of visionaries, right? They see so far ahead that they don't even have the resources available to them today to get it done. And so, like we'll have to talk about my Instagram story sometime. Okay.
Yeah.
The technology, so anyway, the fact is that the technology is already engineered and already being used on a daily basis. It's been being worked on. One of my favorite quotes is, rarely are the accomplishments of the great acts of sudden flight, but they, while their competitors slept, were toiling through the night.
I would assume that not everybody is well, number one, you guys have to have some kind of protection of space. Like there's going to have to be some kind of exclusive arrangements that are made. Number two, I would expect that you guys are really going to have to, you're going to have to vet who gets to participate in this kind of a model. Because this isn't about how big the company is. This isn't about how much their annual revenue is or how long they've been in business. I'm assuming you have the same vetting process I do, which is I need to know how you think. Like when someone asks me who's a good client, I'm like, it's all here. I need to know, are they crazy? I'm sorry. Do they have the same belief system?
Right.
Right. So I would assume if somebody is interested in rethinking the consumer experience, which requires them to remodel and redesign their business, what's the criteria? Am I right to say that one, there's got to be an exclusivity kind of agreement
Yes.
by region or area, and then two, these guys have to literally be different humans than maybe most of the industry?
Well, they definitely have to be in the same mindset, and they don't have to have all the answers, but they have to be willing to do the work, to live in it while they're remodeling it. Right. That's, I've known people who move out of their houses when they remodel them. And I've known people who live in little pieces of their houses when they remodel them.
I refer to as jumpers. Anybody that can't stick to something long enough to see it successful, whether it's staying with a marketing company or bouncing agency to agency or bouncing relationships or whatever it is, jumpers are not going to work on this.
Yeah, I mean,
Not-
eventually, Jennifer, eventually what you'll see is you'll see a My Happy Home Services brand in every major city in the United States. And whether that is a company-owned operation of ours or it is a license type relationship with another company, an independent company, that's ultimately what this will amount to, and you'll see. Some of the work that we're doing on the logistics side of things, when you take the energy away from, when you take away the need to put as much energy into the aspects of this business that are so complicated, like, making sure that your digital marketing company is not screwing you up, or making sure that your guys are converting at the percentage they're supposed to, or all the energy that goes into the gimmick of the way that this industry runs today, you take that out and you put that into operational excellence and logistic masterminding, and you're going to find that you're going to have a world-class brand that is beloved by homeowners. And that's our ultimate mission. And we're carrying on some mantras and missions of mentors of ours, and also, rewriting the way that this works through the experiences that Matthew and I have. And so far it's being very well received, and we will just continue to do this. And one last thing I'll say is that a lot of contractors today say to themselves, yeah, well, I want to build something though that I can sell. And, we have a specific plan in place as well on how we can help contractors fulfill that over time and extract a much larger amount of value than the way that most businesses in this industry are valued today.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Whoever owns the wall, owns the home, owns the customer is the most valuable. It's not transactional based.
Nope. In these businesses, it always blows my mind that you'll see companies that get bought for 10 times earnings or more. Like, what that literally means is that the next 10 years of your earnings, is just to break back even on what they bought your business for. Okay. But the thing that's amazing about it is there's no recurring aspect to it. Like, every single day it starts over. Every day it starts over. Like,
50 first dates.
It's true. You have to start over every single day. There is no recurring aspect to the majority of the way that the industry works.
I would personally never run a business, never, that was transactional and had no recurring revenue.
Well,
and never. We'd be broke as a joke. We would be struggling. We'd be hungry. We'd be fighting, and we'd be screwing everybody for the next lead. We don't have to do that.
The fact that you can't do that and be aligned with a customer. It's nearly impossible to trace transactions and ultimately do the best every single time, for a customer.
It's an entrepreneur that is, this is going to sound really bad. I'm trying to think of a better way to say this. Like, when you put someone in a position where if they don't have the lead volume coming in, and they have payroll and families and children and people to feed, and they have their own bills, and they have their licensing fees, and they have their truck fees, and they're about to do taxes, they've got a huge tax bill and everything else, and they don't have the transactions necessary, the single transactions necessary to make payroll, then I understand why they're maybe willing to do anything, whether it's good for the consumer or not, because the consumer is not the priority when it's Mary, who's worked for the company for however many years, and it's her kids and her school and their family and the people you love. So I understand. But if there was another way, if there was a way to build a business that had some substance to it, some security, some protection, I don't have to get a new customer tomorrow, you guys. I don't have to have a new client tomorrow. I have a lot of them. I get to pick and choose every client I bring in. I get to literally say no to any prospect that comes in. They miss a meeting, I can say nope, because if they miss a meeting with me, they're likely going to not show up to my client meetings. And I get to say no to those things because I don't have a transactional business, because I have the security and insurance of having a business that has recurring revenue. That is possible with what you guys are doing. And I think there's a lot of value in that. People need to understand that.
just a unsolicited, you didn't ask for this, but I'll endorse having worked with your group. You can tell that they're trying to build long-term, it's not, I haven't felt like every interaction has been in that space. So that's what we're trying to do with the customers.
Show me another feature. It's like, they don't do that.
Yeah.
There's no need for that. And we understand that not everybody agrees with us, and we understand that not everybody sees it this way, and that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I kind of take Dana White's approach to things. You don't have to like me.
People that hate me for what I'm trying to do.
I have absolutely zero. There's 0% of my psyche that worries about whether somebody agrees with me or not on this. It doesn't matter. I don't care. It's what we know is that the most valuable company in North America in the home service industry is a company that most people cannot even name. And those companies, that company is worth over $5 billion. And it is a very steady earner.
Yeah.
So,
I think of it like this, and my view on this, right? You're going to have lots of people who dislike change and disruption and who fight it tooth and nail and are willing to call you out, willing to talk about your behind your back. I'm talking about me right now, but I know you guys are going to face some of the things. Anybody who leads from the front and reinvents, especially an entire industry in the way that you function, we're in the same boat. But the natural sequence is for every one of my haters, for every one of yours, what will happen is they will hate and talk and so forth until they have to conform. And by the time they conform, they'll be working on the version of you today. You'll already be 2 years ahead of them tomorrow. This will continue to evolve and everything else. So I don't worry about it. Like at some point when everybody's like, nope, I want to stay the same. I want to stay the same. I want to stay the same. At some point, they're going to go, oh, maybe I should have changed. Okay, now I want to change. But by then, how far behind are they to be able to attempt to get there? Yeah. Like we're working on right now. I've got people that are just now going, okay, maybe I should have moved from WordPress to Webflow. I'm like, well, we just left Webflow. We're already how far ahead? Same thing's going to happen with y'all.
We believe in the Jeff Bezos philosophy that we're maniacal about the consumer experience, not about what our competitors think about us.
100% agree. 100% agree. Everything I care about is I can't stop thinking about ideas for our clients. I can't. It keeps me up. I can't stop working on things. I had the water heater company messaging me literally at 2:00 in the morning on our system saying, this is dope. This is fire. And I'm like, my husband's also texting me going, come to bed.
So, myself and my partners and the people that see things the same way and colleagues like you guys, we're bringing this change, and we're going to be able to provide a product to contractors that they can provide to their customers, their consumers, both current and future, that will allow them to
protect
and continue to grow their businesses. And so
exciting
with a full vertically integrated technology stack that goes with it and does it all with AI built in. You're not going to get, you're not going to get three
more pieces of software.
Here's the reality though, and it's something that I keep saying, is I really believe that we're in the messy middle right now, and we're going to have to figure out that transition. But step one is awareness and adoption of something new. As contractors, we have to get around the idea that we can keep doing what we've been doing.
You know what, Stephanie? I think that the vast majority of contractors I
think they're becoming really aware.
But we're desperate and we don't know what else to do to keep our families fed and our teams fed. And so we keep doing the same thing. It's the Noah syndrome. It's scary and it's a risk.
It's the Noah syndrome, right? Noah, if you believe in like biblical stuff, like Noah was saying to these people,
I know where she's saying stuff.
for a long time, Noah's going, hey, look, man, okay, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And people are laughing at him. Oh, Noah's crazy. Noah's crazy, you know, and that's okay. But
Steph's getting goosies right now because she's
The
been
water-
saying we're building the ark.
the water got deep. The water got deep fast. And that's happening here. And there's no way to sugarcoat it. I mean,
You know what I think is beautiful about our arc is we're inviting everybody on.
Yes. Yes.
well, that's the only right solution that you can have, is one that helps everybody. And you know, it has to, if it's the right solution, it helps everybody. And it's not contractor centric. It's not only consumer centric. It helps everybody.
The whole
It helps,
supply chain.
Right.
Everyone wins.
Everyone
Everyone.
wins. Yeah,
Everyone.
you guys, this is so, like, close your eyes for a minute and rethink a new business in 2026, right? And that business, we're trying to address that pie I was talking about, right? Where there are a set of consumers still going to Google. There are a set of consumers that are now no longer going to Google and go into AI search. There are a set of consumers that prefer convenience and can afford, and it's palatable for them to have a monthly subscription to protect these things they have no interest in actually spending money on, that their household relies on to live and survive.
right.
There is there is a solution to reinvent your business and accomplish all three. There is a solution to reinvent your business and have monthly recurring revenue. There is a solution to be able to offer a set group of services, yet get paid and be the point of contact and own the house and get paid on all of those other solutions that are provided. Like all of these things, there is an option to get free checks in the mail because all your rebates are processed automatically. All these things exist right now.
It makes business so much lighter.
Yes.
And
And then you can scale without continuing to stack humans and humans and humans and humans, right? There will be a solution in 2026 to operate more efficiently and more effectively with AI and an MCP server and proper technology. There will be options for your technology to help you run your business instead of you having to run the technology and hire consultants to run the technology. All of these things are here in 2026.
so because of the work that Darren has done and Jennifer has done, and when you invite them to your table, you get to do the work that you're really good at and be a genius in the trades and be a genius in the homes. And we get to focus on that again because the technical need is still going to be there. We still need tradespeople.
Absolutely. You know, I'm glad you said that, because that was like the thing I wanted to make sure that we said before, because I guarantee there are people that are going to listen to this and go, yeah, but what about workforce? And what about there's not enough technicians. The answer, that's not a true statement. Okay. There's plenty of technicians.
Well, and there's also severe amount of layoffs of highly skilled engineers that do not have a home right now.
But let me talk about technicians just for a second. Okay.
Mhm.
One of my passion projects is for a technician to be valued because they're a technician. Like technicians that are just technicians that are primarily technical skilled in this industry are looked down on. It's like, if you can't go in there and you can't flip that sale and you can't get that ticket and you can't do all that, you're looked down on. Like you're literally like on a board that is posted in these businesses offices, like, and these dudes, it's like it's like a shame board. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my
And
gosh, so true.
I ask the exact same question all the time. If your customers could see the way that you train your technicians to get money from them, would they still want to be your customer? Are you aligned with them? You're not. And I've only met a couple contractors, and one recently, Jen, you know who, the water heater guy, that really cool dude that you introduced me to. The only person I've lately heard said, "Oh, I can say yes to that question." I'm like, "Good, so can I." And you know, we're few and far between, because I promise you,
doing technical training right now. That's what we do.
technicians should get paid livable wages for being technicians, for doing a good job and being clean and friendly and prompt and professional acting and technically skilled. That is what we intend. Our use of technology is to take all that other stuff that
Away.
they're asked to do away from them and give the consumer an experience that is low pressure, service first, low pressure, and let the customer shop
Choose.
or do what they let them choose. Contractors can go, well, they still get to choose. We didn't force them. Well, you manipulated them. Okay. Manipulation is the name of the game that most contractors follow. And I know I get cussed for saying that, but it's true. And the only people that cuss are the ones that don't want, you to say it too loud, because it's true. And the industry is now moved away where, you talk about AI and technology and everything that we're doing, and we're going to still be able to provide for consumers what it is that they need when it comes to upgrading their hardware in their homes, but it's going to be a completely different process on how it happens.
Let me throw this out there. Every single meeting I have with a company asked to do business with us because we didn't sound like every single other marketing agency. It is okay to be different. It is okay to just provide education and information and not close. I don't pitch anything when I get on a call. Anybody that's ever met with me will know that. I spend 49 minutes just educating because I want an educated consumer. I never once close. I don't have to. Imagine if you, in your industry, in your market, were the only one, if everybody's getting the same process, if you guys are all following the same leaders, the same sales processes, because everyone's listening to the same coach, what if you were the only one that was different? I'll tell you, you'd feel like it does for our business. My pipeline is freaking full, like full from 6 a.m. It's dark when our team gets up to have conversations. It's dark when we get done because we're the only ones that sound and do something entirely different from the industry. It's no different.
It's brave.
It's
brave, and it takes work. And so you spent a long time building that. Right? The get rich quick scheme does not sound like yours, Jen, but it's what works and it's disruptive and it's how we're going to go into the future. So Darren, you said you hate to come onto these things and not talk about what it is. Sounds good. What you're talking about sounds good. How do we contractors join this movement and do what you're saying we should be doing?
But not only will we be bringing the product to market to provide the product to contractors to use, but we will also be picking very specific markets in which we are going to be helping develop those markets and building those markets into success opportunities for those who want to get on this train and ride it with us. So yeah, that's what's happening. I believe that, I stood on a stage in Kauai and was asked as a keynote speaker to present a presentation on the future of the industry. And that was at the end of 2022. That was in December of 2022. And I said, what you will see is the emergence of a super company. You will see a super company come out of this, because when you really do things the right way, they appear as if they happened overnight, but they didn't. As I said before, it's not an act of sudden flight.
The overnight success that takes decades of building.
Yep. 6-10 years. I mean, the thinking has been 10 years or longer. The work has been 6 years. And,
we probably have thousands of hours logged of conversations.
Here's the thing,
hundreds of thousands.
For everyone listening, I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people in the industry. It is very rare that you meet people with servant hearts like Jennifer and Darren. Because your mission is not to serve you. Your mission is to serve contractors and their clients, the homeowners. And it is very rare that is actually pure mission. And so to be among other leaders who really believe in the aggregate win is just an incredible place to be. And it makes things hopeful again.
It's a movement. You called it that in the beginning, a movement. And, I I sit around and I'm mesmerized when I see how many of the right people continue to be drawn to us. You know, I have I have a group of shareholders that are amazing, but I have the two most important partners in my life are Matthew Palmieri and Whitney Dixon. Those are my partners. But I will tell you that I consider, I've gotten to know Stephanie fairly recently, but, Jen Bagley and Mike Hicklin and I have been, as you said, we've smoked many a cigar over these topics. We've, even though we're not really smoking them that much anymore, but
We're chilling on this.
really kind of chilled on that.
For years.
But we've spent a tremendous amount of time negotiating thought and testing that thought in a unbiased environment, and all of that work and the believers that believe in what it is that we've done and we're doing are why this has happened. And the purity of the source of all of that inspiration is much, much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And that is really where the credit goes, and we're just workers. So glad to be part of it, and I'm really glad to be invited to forums like this where I get to share these things, and grateful for everybody that contributes to helping make this industry that we love so much. Really what we love is taking care of people. I mean, the industry is not that fun if it's not about taking care of people. Climbing through attics and being in the mud and putting your hands in poop and stuff like that, that's not fun. It's
service.
It's taking care of the consumer. It's taking care of people who are having a problem and restoring sanity into their lives. That's what really is the most exciting part about it. So,
well, I'm a believer, and I am so grateful for this table. I am so grateful that there are servant leaders like you that have come together and that you've put so much love, blood, sweat, tears, money behind moving this forward. And so for those of you that believe in this mission, you don't know what to do. It was a dark year for me in 25, but I am so excited about 26 and beyond in the future. And that's because I have been able to sit at the table with leaders like Darren and Jen. So thank you both.
I'm so proud of you. You know how much I love what you guys are doing. Not everything is perfect when you first start out. I don't really give a rat's rear end. Like the friction and chaos is where great stuff happens. So I love it.
Look, every single day we were had a chisel and a hammer, and we were knocking pieces off this piece of, rock to try to get some semblance of a shape. And then we were using a smaller chisel, and today we're using a polishing rag. But it takes a tremendous amount of work. It takes a belief system that if you didn't have, you'd quit a long time ago. And if we weren't so convinced and converted and convicted of knowing that what we're doing is right, it would have been a lot easier to quit and do something
for real.
I mean, so let me just be frank. I mean, look, if we just wanted to go build, home service businesses and put techs in homes and sell a bunch of stuff, we're good at that. Okay, we know how to do that. But we're on a different pathway because we believe that that's our calling. So that's where we're at.
I'm with you. I have the same belief system. And thank you. We just launched brand new website, myhappyhome.com. So I know Chris is going to throw it up on the site or on the screen, myhappyhome.com. You guys go check it out. Darren and Matthew have always been amazing about being available to contractors that are, super interested. I will say this, they have the same kind of philosophy, I believe. Like, you got to be somebody that wants to show up, suit up, and participate. No bullshit. Like, when you get on the phone with someone like this and you're getting input and advice and strategic planning, you got to want to evolve to even, I would say, I try and make sure when I refer people over to you guys that I pre-vet right mindset and so forth first. But
you know what? I won't say this. I won't say this the way that we say it, okay? Because I might offend some of the, people that don't like certain cuss words. But Matthew and I have a very, very simple philosophy. We only work with people who are F yes or it's no.
Yes.
It's either F yes or it's no. We
I
don't
concur.
try to convince anybody. We don't try to sell anybody. We explain what we're doing, and it's either F yes or it's no.
Yeah, one of the two. I agree. Same here. I will never try and convince somebody to work with us ever. I'm so out so fast. This is not going to happen.
Yeah.
I love that. You guys, these guys are amazing. I know they have content. There's opportunities. We have a speaking event coming up at the Wind Supply thing. We've got a few different events where you guys can come out and meet them in person. And there's some educational opportunities. Of course, they also participate in Just Start AI. They've been on the Boardroom podcast before. You can go check out those episodes as well. You guys keep doing you. I'm really excited about this. Matthew, we've got your company, Homepattable. We're getting ready. You're in the final stages of launching Hydra, and you're going to have that come out with My Happy Home fully integrated. And you just gave me a new project. You're going to be the first HVAC company website in Hydra with My Happy Home. Click the freaking button, Tesla experience, concierge experience. And now I got to go create a new task that says take your entire website, and I want it turned into a web app. That was a really good aha moment from this time. So you guys, thank you so much for trusting us, being great partners, leading your way in the industry. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us here.
Thanks so much, Jennifer.
All right. Appreciate you guys.